is not illegal, but buying insulin on the black market is. Keep that in mind. And there have been protests over the skyrocketing prices of insulin, and Washington is starting to investigate. Just recently, they grilled pharmaceutical companies about the high cost. And the big question I want to know about insulin is, why is a medication that has been around for almost 100 years not gone down in price? When you think that would happen after 100 years? Instead, it seems like the opposite. The prices actually have gone up. Marshall Campo, who's been investigating this, is back. The cost of insulin, it seems like it's doubled. That's the number that I've been seeing, doubled in 5 years. What's really behind the rising costs?
Yeah, there are a few things that are going on. So first is that there are only 3 companies in the United States that make insulin, and they can set the price, and there are no limits and there's no regulation on what that price is or how high it can go. The other thing is insurance policies. We have wildly different insurance policies in this country. So if you're someone with diabetes with a very high deductible, you have to pay out of pocket until you reach that deductible. And even then, the insurance company may only pay a portion of the cost of the drug. So the consumer is really bearing a lot of these costs.
And just a couple things here. First of all, it's a very complicated relationship between the different people in the healthcare field. Maybe for a reason. It makes it complicated for us to follow. But in fact, according to a recent study, insurance copays are higher than the actual cost of the drug 25% of the time. You need to ask. You pay the copay, it might actually be paying more than what the actual drug would cost on its own. And the pharmaceutical companies are blaming the insurance companies. So they're going back and forth. And that lack of transparency has allowed a lot of behind the closed door deals. What are these? These worry me a lot.
Yeah, so there's essentially a negotiation that's going on between the drug manufacturer, the pharmacy benefit manager, and the pharmacies about the price. But all of that is shrouded in mystery. The consumer is kept in the dark. They have no idea why they're being charged what they're being charged or how they came up with those prices. There's a lack of transparency here.
That's why the show is important. If you understand, you can get upset at the right people. And once they know you're onto them, people start reacting. So Dr. Levy, you have type 1 diabetes.
Correct.
You take care of people with diabetes, which makes you especially good at answering this question. What worries you the most about the seeming rising cost of insulin?
Yeah, so it becomes the cost can patients afford to pay for the medication that they need to stay alive. That's my biggest concern. The secondary concern I have is that if people can't afford it, they start rationing it. They say, okay, which is better than not taking it, but if you start to ration it, that means you take half of your appropriate dose of medication. That leads to longer-term risks, complications of diabetes, eye disease, kidney disease, nerve damage. You think about every problem that someone could have diabetes-related, they're setting themselves up for that. So it's very scary.
We reached out to the Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America, and they realize that there's a problem. And they aggressively dispute that the high prices are because of that. They told us there's I'm quoting them, robust competition, so they provide discounts and rebates on insulin. But, listen carefully, those rebates are not being passed along to the patients. They said in part, unfortunately, patients typically do not benefit from the fruits of the competitive marketplace because the price they pay at the pharmacy, set by their insurer, is tied to the undiscounted list price. They go on to say this is because middlemen are gaining a profit by including these medicines in health plan deductibles that it would expose patients to undiscounted prices. Lots of things going on here, guys. If they're giving little discounts to make prices affordable for consumers, and the consumers aren't getting it, and someone's pocketing the difference, that's a real issue for me. And the fact that you don't understand the system is not an accident. You don't understand it for a reason, because they don't want you to understand it. Because if you don't understand it, you can't fix it. So this is a good opportunity for us, because it's not just insulin here, it's a lot of the drugs that are potentially saving or changing your lives. Dr. Legend, when someone is in your office talking to you about this stuff, and you know they cannot afford insulin, what do you tell them?
Yeah, so there are some alternatives to offer. There's one foundation called Insulin for Life, and they do provide for people in need options for insulin that's well prepared, well stored, that people can reach out for. The other opportunities are alternative or older insulins, ones that are not routinely used nowadays, which one can still purchase in various pharmacies for about $25 a vial.
They're not old.
Yeah.
They're not ancient. They were invented a while back.
Yeah, they were invented longer ago than the current insulins that are the most in vogue and utilized the most. So there are alternatives, but those have to be carefully managed under the supervision of a physician because there are dose differences. If you were to switch and say, okay, I can't afford this, you need someone to guide you how to switch from insulin A to insulin B in a safe fashion.
There are companies, including my trusted sponsorship partners, ShareCare, that have an app which allows you to compare insulin prices in your area's pharmacies. Maybe you'll find a better deal. Educate yourself. Mara, nice job. Going undercover. Dr. Levy. Listen, if we don't fix the problem of rising insulin costs, we're going to have more dangers of people buying frozen or ineffective insulin. If you're taking insulin, ask your doctor if you can use one of the older, cheaper types. They can be just as effective without risking your life buying insulin on the black market. It is not worth it. We'll be right back.